The most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen.
We have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19.
Lines crossing the Bloomberg terminal right now that Elon Musk has agreed to buy Twitter for $54.20 a share in cash.
The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York has confirmed the arrest of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried in the Bahamas.
Smart people doing stupid things to incompetence or haste, but this one it doesn't make sense. First, the facts. Balenciaga is one of the world's most expensive clothing brands.
Convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein remains behind bars today on
abuse of underage girls. Prosecutors say that she recruited and groomed 4 times.
As you and I well remember, the president was impeached, President Trump was impeached. No Republicans voted in the House.
With me now. And so, Philip, what's the latest then that we're getting on the Russian attacks in Ukraine?
Well, day 2.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to everybody out there. I am CannCon, Brian Lupo, and I am joined by my guest co-host this morning, Chris Paul.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
It's good to see you, man. It's always good to see you. Anyways, we've got a lot to cover today. Well, actually, it's going to be kind of an easy Friday, but it's going to be a fun one, man. It's always fun doing a show with you. So let's go ahead and first jump into our first sponsor of today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, No Bugs Beef. You mean they're now putting mRNA into our food supply? What's next? Well, we've got a solution for you. We've partnered with the folks over at NoBugsBeef.com, a veteran-owned all-American beef supplier that provides sous vide, freeze-dried beef from ranchers in Texas that have never even heard of an mRNA. That means you get high-quality cooked and freeze-dried beef cubes shipped right to your door. Premium cuts of ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, sirloin, and chuck, not typical survival food. Soak the beef cubes in water for just 15 minutes and you can eat them today or in 10 years. Sous vide and freeze-dry high-quality beef stored in Mylar bags to keep them shelf-stable for over a decade without any refrigeration. So go to NoBugsBeef.com and use promo code BADLANDS for an additional 10% off your order. That's NoBugsBeef.com, promo code BADLANDS, fighting the push against crickets, lab-grown meat, and every abomination under the sun. NoBugsBeef.com. All right, Chris, you ready to get rocking and rolling here?
Let's do it, buddy.
All right. Well, got a little bit of COVID news. This was an interesting Twitter thread that was put out there today, or was it yesterday, by CannCon the Great. Microbiologist Kevin McKernan discovered concerning levels of DNA contamination in the Pfizer and Moderna vials, including simian virus 40, which is a promoter tied to cancer development in humans. Now, this would tie into a lot of the stuff we've covered over the last, few months with Dr. Mayorkas has done a lot on this. He's an oncologist that I follow over on Twitter, and he's talked a lot about like turbo cancer, I think is the term that he's designated. Yeah. You know, people that will come up and like, oh, you got a cancer diagnosis. And by the way, you have to go into immediate chemo because it's stage 4. And it's like, whoa, where did this come off? But from this study, it says, quote, it's in both Moderna and Pfizer. We looked at the bivalent vaccines for both Moderna and Pfizer, and only the monovalent vaccine for Pfizer because we didn't have access to the monovalent for Moderna. In all 3 cases, the vaccines contained double-stranded DNA contamination. If you sequence that DNA, you'll find that it matches what looks to be an expression vector that's used to make the RNA. So there's a lot more on that. Let me just pull this back up. There's about a 35-minute podcast if you guys want to check that out. CannCon the Great's got it up on his Twitter. And if you guys are following us, you're probably following him.
Yeah. He's the best.
CannCon, I mean, dude, that guy is like just a magnet for crazy, incredible research and information. It's always great to follow him.
Yeah, he's great at like winnowing it down and then presenting it in its like clearest possible form.
Yep, absolutely. Well, staying on the vaccine front, kind of, we got this story out of Fox News. Parents infuriated as migrants enroll in Chicago's schools without health records after years of COVID rules. So we've gone through, I know you, Chris, you had to have gone through the same thing I went through. We had to get all the vaccines and stuff before we went to school. Before you started with school, we did the little one where they like draw a circle around it and see if it expands. And
oh man, I don't remember that stuff.
Really? You don't?
Yeah, I remember maybe going to the doctors once to get shots when I was a kid, and maybe a tetanus shot, like when I was 10 or something. But beyond that, no, not really. No.
Well, that's all they really do, though. Is it's
right.
Really just
now they just plug you with like 70 shots.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like nowadays, it's like you have to go every single year for vaccine.
Yeah, they have like a crazy schedule.
Yeah, and they wonder why autism is up like 1,000% over
everything, man. Peanut allergies. Like you just go down the list of things that no one used to have, and now all sorts of kids have them. And you look at the dropping birth rates and all that. Like, there's no reason to believe this program hasn't been the same throughout its entire time. The vaccine program.
Yep.
It's not just the COVID vax; it's all of them.
And they're completely free of liability. Isn't it funny how that works? The government, for the most part, pays for their injuries. But let's just highlight a couple points from this article here. Chicago area parents are voicing their outrage over public schools allowing migrant children to enroll without health documentation, as cities across the U.S. are dealing with an influx of migrants into their communities. Mother Jennifer Preston joined Fox and Friends First and said, quote, "Right now in the school district in which we live, we have to provide residency, citizenship, health records, and vaccination records on almost an annual basis. I have a child right now, and I must have 5 emails in my inbox stating that my child cannot return to school next year without a specific vaccine. So it's certainly inconsistent with what they're allowing for the migrant children coming into the Chicago public schools." She said, another parent said, quote, "You can't be compassionate, but you also can't be foolish." Or excuse me, you can be compassionate, but you also can't be foolish. "We are inviting in everyone like a magnet. Everyone come here, collect all your freebies. We are going to give it to you. Every sucker in here is going to pay for it," said another resident. So that's awesome to see Chicago kind of waking up to what's going on and pushing back a little bit.
Man, I hope everybody does that. I mean, that's what has to happen eventually. Like we're getting to the point where everybody kind of knows what this is. Like, you can't be sending your kids to these schools if that's the requirement. Protest it, try to get the school to stop. But otherwise, like, you can't ever comply with these people. That's how we've gotten to this point.
And yet yesterday we were talking about the governor of North Carolina declaring a state of emergency over school choice. And this idea,
a state of emergency, like a formal one.
Yeah. Like literally declaring a state of emergency because he knows.
Wow.
Right. Because Cooper's a Democrat and he knows that they have a super majority now in North Carolina. So if he overrules the school choice, they're going to veto it. They're going to, override his veto.
And so he's trying to make it a state of emergency so they can't override the veto.
I don't know if that's going to do that or if it's just, some way to pander and dog whistle to their Democrat operatives that are going to, take up arms and go crazy and influence, maybe there'll be an insurrection at a protest. It's only an insurrection.
Yeah, right. Dude, I mean, but let's just take a moment and notice the abuse of government that's happening in a state of emergency just to influence whether or not a law can be duly passed by the legislature. That's insane.
That's absolutely wild. But that's part of the reason that they're doing this. They parents are pushing back. They're saying, why are my kids getting are forced to get a vaccine for COVID? Why are they forced to get, vaccines for all these things that are just completely irrelevant nowadays? And, the effects that we're seeing in children, they want to continue to ignore it, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
These are not safe for kids, and you see long-term effects from them. And to go there as far as declaring a public emergency, like people are waking up, man. People are waking up. We're going to cover that.
Remember in 2020 when they tried to tell us that racism was a public health emergency?
Yeah. Well, the World Health Organization just had a whole seminar with like every single nation having a representative there talking about climate change being the biggest threat to our health right now. And it's like, I don't know about that. Didn't we just get snow like a couple weeks ago up in the Northeast? Like
It's so silly too. They're like, oh, even worse pandemics will come out of the places most affected by climate change. Like, oh, really? The inside of your global regime labs are affected by climate change? Is that what you're telling us?
the ones in Africa and the ones
Right.
Yeah. It's
worse in those labs.
Yeah. Well, did you see the Daily Mail yesterday? Now this is coming from the World Health Organization, but the Daily Mail covered a story about that same event where they talked about the new X virus, or would they call it the virus
disease X or whatever,
disease
virus X. Yeah,
disease X, I think it was. And then from there they list out a chart with all the most dangerous viruses that are in existence right now, as if to show people like, hey, you thought 1% of COVID, 1% fatality rate among COVID, which is crap. You thought that was scary. Wait till you see, like Nipah virus, which is like 75%, or Congo hemorrhagic fever, which is like 80%.
They've got a whole roster of them depending on how scared you need to be.
Yeah, right. Like, how close is Trump to winning in 2024? Do we need to go with the Nipah virus, or are we going to be okay with like a Zika virus that doesn't really have
Or do we need to get all the way to Marburg?
Marburg. Oh, that was the one that I think they said that was the most deadly one.
Yeah. That's like the most famous of their Prussian projects. It's just the Prussian system. Everybody out there should read Prussiagate or listen to Patrick read Prussiagate. You will know so much more about what's happening right now by examining the history of all this stuff happening over and over and over again in the past. It's just the same playbook again. The same playbook runs at different times and different places. The playbook is designed to infiltrate and subvert entire societies, and eventually they get all of them around the world and can then apply military force and get the whole thing. It's a simple program, and it is running right now everywhere, including here.
And who was it was Obama, and who was the other senator that kind of kicked this off?
Oh, with the labs in Ukraine, Dick Lugar.
That's right. That's wild to me.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into this story here, because we got a little bit of an update this morning. Unconfirmed breaking news. Can you do that? Unconfirmed breaking news. McCarthy leaves Capitol, tells reporters of debt ceiling talks, quote, "There's no agreement." Come down here just a little bit, and he said McCarthy is apparently saying that negotiators will continue to work until we get this done. And let's just listen to this clip from McCarthy last night.
No sound, Bri.
Oh, crap. What the hell? Oh, you know why? Because we have my bad, guys. I got to be careful when I'm hosting, because if I play a spot that has whatever, it'll echo. So here we go.
Let me tell the American public, I am not going to give up. We're not going to default. We're going to solve this problem. I will stay with it until we can get it done. But let's be honest about this. We have to spend less than we spent last year. It is not my fault that the Democrats cannot give up on their spending.
So hopefully McCarthy stands his ground on this, but we did get some breaking news from Zero Hedge right here that's being reported by Bloomberg as well. Breakthrough on debt deal would raise limit, cap spending for 2 years, but will Freedom Caucus accept?
The answer has to be no.
I agree. But hold on. I want to talk about how this was a punt, but let me read this real quick. With the X date for potential U.S. default now estimated at June 5th, House GOP and White House negotiators appear to be settling on an agreement to raise the debt limit and cap federal spending for 2 years. Bloomberg reports, citing people familiar with the discussion, the details are tentative and a final agreement is not yet in sight. That's really weird to be reporting that, it's imminent, but there's nothing in sight. Defense spending would be allowed to rise by 3% next year. Yay. More defense spending, right? What's that going to put us at? Like, that'd be about what, 850 million? Billion on the books, because we know there's a lot of DARPA spending and other spending that's under the table, so to speak. But again, I'm going to raise the question, why are we spending so much on defense when our two rival nations combined spend less than half, that being China and Russia. Combined, those two nations spend about 325 to 350 billion a year on defense, and we're spending 850 billion. And we're also part of NATO, which is what? What's that?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah.
I mean, we're spending trillions on defense, and they're spending billions. And
well, we have a whole global regime to defend. And we have to show up whenever called upon. People like you do, at least.
Well, at one point, yeah, unfortunately, we were taken advantage of. Reading on here.
It's not even that. It's Americans are committed to national sovereignty and national defense, and that can be exploited by people with a lot of money and a lot of power, unfortunately.
Yep. Reading on here, says the emerging deal would also include a measure to upgrade the nation's electric grid. Like, who the frick is negotiating this deal? Two things there that are absolutely, going to crush the deficit, to be able to handle the massive requirements of renewable energy, a key goal for Democrats, while speeding up permits for pipelines and other fossil fuel projects demanded by Republicans. I feel like we're back in the same old Republican Party, like the same old cycle of just, establishment talking points. Now, granted, fossil fuels and the fuel project are big. Don't get me wrong.
And that has to be done. And, the Democrats can call that other spending like spending for green projects on the electric grid, but it really only matters what the specifics of that are, right? Because it's one thing to allow them to message it that they're doing something good for the green movement. But the truth is the electrical grid does need to be upgraded in many ways. And so it's a matter of where that money is actually directed. I'm not going to get hung up on the marketing of it. We can give them concessions like in a narrative sense, right? Without actually pursuing the agenda that they're claiming. And so I would want to wait and see exactly what that is.
Well, it goes on to say the deal would also cut $10 billion from an $80 billion increase for the IRS that the Biden administration included in the Inflation Reduction, I use that term loosely, in the Inflation Reduction Act, after Republicans warned of a quote-unquote wave of audits led by new agents. So
we're sentence right after that, though. Democrats say it'll pay for itself by the reduction in tax cheating.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. It will.
Yeah.
They're going to go after 87,000 people to go. I don't even think we have 87,000 billionaires in this country, but that's what they're using as the excuse. We're going to go after the billionaires. We're not going after, Matt Taibbi. We're not going after him knocking on his door on Christmas Eve to talk about a 2018 tax return after he just exposed all that deep state filth in the government through the Twitter files. But this here, Chris, is a massive failure. If look, they only talked about 3 things in the budget, but if that's what we're negotiating, that's a massive failure by Kevin McCarthy, because, he has the upper hand on this, hands down. There's no question. And to sit there and say, we're going to repeal the spending on the IRS, and then you get 1/8 of a repeal, 1/8. That's not something to celebrate, dude.
Right. Exactly.
87,000 agents. Now you're only going to get 79,000. That's what he's telling us.
Yep.
Oh, it's so disgusting, man.
Well, we got to wait till it all comes out. I mean, if McCarthy stands strong on this, that's a really, really good sign in general. They want to extend this debt ceiling for 2 years until after the inauguration in 2025. They just want to give the administration carte blanche until after the next election. So if the Republican House and the Republicans in the Senate fold on this, that's pretty indicative of where the GOP establishment is at right now. And I wonder where Ron DeSantis is on all this.
He's too busy talking about Disney and Trump and how he would pardon Trump. Did you see that? He came out and he's like, "Oh yeah, I would. I would think about pardoning Trump. How about you stand up for Trump for being persecuted right now, like Vivek Ramaswamy?" Yeah, I made this prediction the other day. Ramaswamy is quickly going to move in the number 2 spot in the GOP race.
Yeah. Ron will eventually end up within the margin of error, I think. And it's sad because we were told stories about Ron's greatness, and it just turns out that those stories are not really any more true than the stories about how Donald Trump is going to be arrested and put away for the rest of his life. and even if Ron's okay, which I'm not sure he is at this point, his supporters are absolutely awful. These people have no reason for doing what they're doing, and it's just so dishonest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Look, DeSantis is a good governor. He's good. He's not great. He's not great. Well, I live it. I live it. He's
right.
Good.
But
he
think about this though. DeSantis had his Republican legislature. Now he has a bigger Republican legislature. He says he won by a lot, 20 points in elections we know to be rigged. They just lost the Jacksonville mayor race last week. How's that possible in a Ron DeSantis Florida, where all of these new Republicans have come in and Ron DeSantis has the Republican paradise and clean elections? It's not possible. One of those has to be false. It might be that both are false, but one of them has to be. You can't just have a Democrat mayor win in a major Florida city when Ron won that county by 12 points 7 months ago. A 16-point swing in 7 months, while Ron is the most popular Republican in the nation. It's not possible. Not possible. It just isn't possible. So, there's something very bad going on down there. And it's funny because, Ron's talking about this American comeback, right? They are a few weeks away from saying build back better.
It's a great point. He was talking about building the wall the other day too. I mean, he's like, he's playing both sides here. But getting back to the bill thing, like they mentioned, will the Freedom Caucus accept it? And I think that is the underlying goal. You were seeing, McCarthy and Biden posturing back and forth against each other. Schumer involved in that as well. And essentially, I think what they did is they said, hey, let's give you some concessions, nothing anywhere near what should be acceptable. And then let's leave it on the Freedom Caucus, because we could kill two birds with one stone here. We can eventually get what we need out of this bill. And at the same time, we can make the Freedom Caucus look like the enemy of the state, like they tried to spin them during the speaker vote when they held out for 15 rounds. I think that's the spin that's going to come out here. And I believe Matt Gaetz said on his Firebrand podcast last week that they won't stand for a debt ceiling hike without significant cuts. So it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the House.
Yeah, man. I'm hoping that they go to the mats on this one. It's got to be this spending and the unlimited printing of fiat regime bucks has to be stopped.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's jump into this story here. This one's going to be interesting here. We're going to cover this, a couple different facets of this. Bud Light boycott already cost Anheuser-Busch now $15.7 billion. The market value of Anheuser-Busch InBev, whose fourth best-selling brand is Bud Light, dropped by 15.7 since April 1st, based on conversions to U.S. dollar. Meanwhile, the other major publicly traded global beer brands have added $3.2 billion in market value during the same time. According to Jared Dingus, I'm going to go with Dingus, average beverage analyst for JP Morgan Chase, quote, "We believe there's a subset of American consumers who will not drink Bud Light for the foreseeable future. We believe a 12 to 13% volume decline on an annualized basis would be a reasonable assumption. Shares are down 11.9% since April 1st. Molson Coors Beverage shares are up more than 20% from April 1st. Shares of Anheuser-Busch have underperformed the EU beer peers by 15% since the start of April." Now, compare this, Chris, with this news that we just got from Target, that Target loses $9 billion in the week following the boycott over LGBTQ-friendly, kid-friendly clothing. A week ago Wednesday, before the controversy erupted, Target's stock closed at $160 a share, giving the big box a market capitalization of $74.3 billion. As of early trading on Thursday, however, shares of the company were trading off at 1% at $141.76. That's a 12% drop that has shaved a whopping $9 billion off the company's market capitalization. Quote, since introducing this year's collection, we've experienced threats impacting our team members' sense of safety and well-being while at work, Target said in a statement on Tuesday. Given these volatile circumstances, we are making adjustments to our plans, including removing items that have been at the center of the most significant confrontational behavior. And you know what that means, Chris? They're in the conundrum that Bud Light is in right now.
Yeah.
They did it. Now they're pulling back. So you pissed off the right by doing it. And now you're going to piss off the left by pulling back. And you're going to see which one's elastic, which one's going to bounce back. And I'm telling you right now, based on what Bud Light is still seeing almost 2 months later, Target's in for a rough ride coming up here.
Yeah. The only other aspect of this that I wonder about is how much of this is intentional, because at this point, all these corporations know that this is going to be the result. It's not a surprise. And you got to wonder if people are shorting the stock and crashing it on purpose, or if these companies are just being kind of bled out, because all of them are involved with aspects of what we've seen the global regime do over the last few years. All of them at some point are going to be held accountable. And so, there's the reality of these situations, and then the public facing optical aspect. And I'm wondering if this woke display isn't just the optics of something more intentional and constructed going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll find out.
Let's go ahead and jump real quick into our next ad. I think it's appropriate right here as we're talking about all this. I don't know. Wussification. I'm going to use that. Wussification of America. Here we go.
What is that?
This is a smoking hot manly can. We got the Crawdads Classic 3-pepper gourmet hot sauce, the sweet and spicy pickles. Oh yeah, the ghost pepper peanuts. Go ahead. Have a handful.
Ghosts aren't even real, dude.
Yeah, I love these cans. Kids got it for me for Father's Day.
Yeah, I'm just gonna use your bathroom real quick.
Yeah,
bathroom
dude.
stuff, you know.
Dude, you all right?
Yeah, man, I'm great, man. You got another beer?
All right. Special thank you to Manly Cans. I thought that was fitting for right there. I want to go through a couple things here real quick. And this is just we're gonna play the media's full of crap game here for a second. So this is actually a picture from the New York Post article that I just read, and I want you guys to ingrain, embed, whatever, burn it into your memory, that picture right there, because we're going to talk about that in a second here. But first, Gavin Newsom's reaction to this is like the typical liberal meltdown. Gavin Newsom about Target tweets out, CEO of Target, Brian Cornell, selling out the LGBT community to extremists is a real profile in courage. What did I just tell you, Chris? The conundrum that they're going to face. They're between a rock and a hard place with this. They made their bed, and now they're going to lay on it with both parties on each side just wanting to beat the crap out of them. This isn't just a couple stores in the South. There's a systematic attack on the gay community happening across the country. Wake up, America. This doesn't stop here. You're Black, you're Asian, you're Jewish, you're a woman, you're next. Now, let's just think about that for a second there. You're Black, you're Asian, you're Jewish, you're women. I'm going to assume that those are four specific references. First off, you have your Black, that's referring to slavery. You're Asian, referring to maybe internment camps in the United States during World War II. You're Jewish, the Holocaust, and you're a woman. Obviously, we're talking about women's suffrage, and we're moving away from logic here, okay? All four of those are people that are born that way. There's absolutely nothing they can do whatsoever to change it. You're born Black, you're born Asian, you're born
Well, be careful. You're not allowed to say that about women.
Oh, get the hell out of here. Well, yeah, that's a good point. The only thing I will say is you're not born Jewish, but I mean, unless you're, but
I mean, I think that the rule is the only way to be Jewish is to be born Jewish from a Jewish mother. Isn't that the rule?
Yeah, it's like you follow your mother, but it's a religion still. So I'm gonna go that way. But anyways, you get the point.
I'm told.
Yeah. Well, and then you're a woman.
Yes.
So we have this movement where they're literally taking women and replacing them with men in every facet of life that you could possibly imagine: sports, culture, everything. And here you have Gavin Newsom dog whistling to people saying, "Hey, because they're going after the LGBT community next, we're going after these communities." And I mean, that's simply not the case. I say this again and again, and I know the audience that's listening right now is going to echo this sentiment. We just care about the kids, man. Keep this shit away from our kids. And the fact that Gavin Newsom is going to sit there and fire up his base with the same crap. By the way, he got destroyed in the comments on this. It's pretty mind blowing. All right, go ahead. You want to add something?
No, go.
Well, I want to jump into. The Daily Mail puts this out and says Target takes emergency action to avoid a Bud Light situation, removes tuck-friendly women's swimwear. Right. So now, close that one out. Let's jump over here to the Daily Beast. Right. MAGA media runs wild with BS claim. BS. That stands for. Well, we know what that stands for. It doesn't stand for Blue Star Strategies, if you read me and John's piece last week. MAGA media runs wild with BS claim of tuck-friendly Target kidswear. Let's read this right here. Despite their claim that the retailer is, quote, destroying our kids, end quote, by selling bathing suits to toddlers with, quote, extra crotch coverage, end quote, the reality is that Target only offers the quote unquote tuck friendly items in adult sizes as part of the Pride Month collection. And they they underline the Target only offers. I'm sure that's a link, but emphasis added. Snopes, is Target offering tuck friendly bathing suits for kids? False. They are not. PolitiFact, they cite Matt Walsh. Tuck friendly bathing suits at Target are available in kids sizes. False. Reuters, fact check. Target's tuck-friendly swimsuits are for adults, not children. Insider, Business Insider. No, Target didn't offer tuck-friendly bathing suits for kids. Here's what is and isn't part of the Pride celebration line. Yahoo News through Business Insider, same one, sorry. Newsweek, Lauren Boebert joins growing fury over Target's tuck-friendly swimsuits. The items soon became hugely controversial, especially as many on social media falsely claimed the swimsuits were aimed at kids or were available in kids' sizes. Target later confirmed to the Associated Press that kids' swimsuits in Pride collection did not include the tuck-friendly label. In fact, if you go through a Google search right here, it's nothing but, no, this didn't happen. So then let's jump over here to a tweet I put out this morning. This is the same exact bathing suit that Alex Stein famously wore walking around Target, tucking his blimp. Is that his thing? Like pimp with a blimp or pimp on a blimp or something? That's like his thing. He says that all the time. I'm the number 199 pimp on a blimp or something like that. Alex Stein walking around Target, tucking his blimp in, wearing this same exact bathing suit. Now, look, there's a lot going on with hormones and everything in children, but I'm pretty sure that's a teenage girl. Like probably, I don't know, maybe 13, 14 years old. But that's not even the worst part. Check out this video right here.
We're at Target right now, and there's a lot of controversy going on about all of the
sound?
Pride stuff that's coming out with kids' clothes and things like that. So we're going to go to the kids section, and we're actually going to see if they're putting weird, creepy, uncomfy stuff on children's clothing.
Okay, so there's I guess a woman could wear that if they're like, I don't know. What's the Benjamin Button disease where you age backwards? Maybe that could happen. But that's a baby's onesie right there.
It's crazy. Yeah.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have Glad You Came Out and I'm So Happy That You're Queer in the kids section. Are you kidding me?
Oh, but CannCon, that's not tuck friendly. That's just Pride, and that's okay. Well, let's keep going.
I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence. So I found an extra small swimsuit in the child section. It says light binding effect.
Okay, so this one here, light binding effect. Okay, so this is, it's not tuck friendly for your junk down there. It's tuck friendly up here, I guess. Let's keep going.
Effect on it. And then the bottoms in the kids section, keep in mind, say tuck friendly.
Now, there it is right there. Let me make it a little bit bigger if I can. Remember that picture I told you to keep your eye on? That's the same exact tag that they're saying is only in the adult section. Tuck-friendly construction, it says right there. You guys might not be able to see it on your end. Tuck-friendly construction in an extra small in the children's section. It doesn't get any smaller than that.
Yep.
Construction. They're giving it to your kids. If that doesn't give you a reason to boycott Target, I don't know what does. But this shit's getting out of hand. They're targeting children, whether you like it or not. And it's time that people actually do something about it. Because if they don't, then guess what? That shit won't just be in Target, it'll be in every store ever.
Unfortunately, I think it already is in every store ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's deeply embedded in the culture now. And I mean, look at that flag, right? It used to just be a rainbow flag, and everybody was like, oh, that's just gay people. Like, that's their symbol. They like being gay. They think it's like cool and whatever, everybody should do. Like, adults should live their lives as they choose, or at least they should have the right to do it. I can have my thoughts and opinions about what people do and how they lead their lives, but I'm not trying to tell someone how to live. But man, oh man, look at what they're doing now.
Dude,
that's not a rainbow flag. That is a rainbow flag plus a trans flag plus a Black Lives Matter flag. They're bringing in all the various genders, all the aspects of Marxism and communism. That's the flag that they want to fly over the nation. They're raising a generation of people to believe that flag is more meaningful and more loving and more important than the American flag.
Yep.
I mean, that's where this is going.
Remember the teacher that said, the student said, well, teacher, we don't have a flag to pledge allegiance to. And the teacher's yeah, we do. Yep. And the kid's like, oh, you mean that one? And points at the same flag we're talking about right here. The MAPS have a flag now. The minor attracted adult persons, they have a flag now. I mean, how long until they integrate that into their flag? I mean, the flag is going to be like their acronym, LGBTQ, LMNOP, whatever, we want to add to the end of it. And the worst part is, man, is like the people in general are pushing back against this, but so is the LGB community. Last week I was at an event with it was for the O'Keefe Media Group, but there was one of the board members of Gays Against Groomers, and I had a good conversation with him, talking specifically about this issue. And the gay community itself is repulsed by what they're seeing with this. So, folks, don't attack, the gay and lesbian community. They're not the ones that are perpetrating this. This is a pure Marxist communist ideology that is just trying to come in here and sterilize children. And in order to look, if you're not reproducing, okay, conservatives are the birth rate among conservatives compared to liberals right now is through the roof. I mean, we're going to outproduce, assuming the ideology passes down, we're going to outproduce them. So what do they have to do in retaliation to that? They're promoting this LGBTQ ideology that is dead on its face. There is no potential for reproduction. So recruitment is their only option. That's what they have to do. They have to create a void, and they have to fill it with their own ideologies, and they have to put out their this statement and bring them into their community, because they can't produce on their own. They're not going to be able to, expand. I mean, of course they can adopt and stuff like that, but just wild, man. And
I mean, who knows what the result in terms of sterilization is going to be, after heavy vaccination by that part of our society. Like, they're the people who have chosen to get 2 and 3 and 4 boosters. At some point that's going to catch up with them. I mean, we can hope for the best for these people, that they'll figure it out and turn it around and take care of their health and take care of their bodies. And, maybe they'll one day get to reproduce, but to be, like the perfectly cold assessment of that, just looking at the facts, like they're destroying future generations at pace.
Yep. I want to, Chris, real quick, I want to highlight something that's going to play into this. This was an interview that Barack Obama did a week and a half ago with CBS News. And the title of this article here is Obama Grapples with America's, quote, different realities, end quote.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. How can we have a common set of facts? Now, let me read this quote from that interview right here. He says, this is Obama speaking. He says, the thing that I'm most worried about is the degree to which we now have a divided conversation, in part because we have a divided media, a splintered media. He noted that when he was growing up, quote, you had 3 TV stations and people were getting a similar sense of what is true and what isn't, what is real and what was not. He goes on to say, today, what I'm most concerned about is the fact that because of the splintering of the media, we almost occupy different realities, right? Mm-hmm. If something happens that, in the past, everybody could say, all right, we may disagree on how to solve it, but at least we all agree that, yeah, that's an issue. Now people will say, well, that didn't happen, or I don't believe that, or I don't care about the science. I'm not concerned about these experts, because they're just all liberals, or that's just conservative propaganda. And one of, I think, the goals of the Obama Foundation and one of the goals of my post-presidency is, how do we return to that common conversation? How can we have a common set of facts? Now, Chris, I'll let you tear this apart in just 1 second, but I want to remind you, when he says a common set of facts, Daily Beast, false. Snopes, false. PolitiFact, false. Reuters, false. Insider, false. Newsweek, false. Ready? A mother with a freaking iPhone debunked the entire mainstream operation right then and there in real time and said, you guys are full of shit. And Obama comes out and says, common facts. That's not, facts are not, there's no common or not, there's just facts.
Yeah. And you're talking about the propagandist in chief, man, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Like, Barack Obama is the guy that has made the way we communicate in society so toxic. He is the one that introduced the race wars and the gender wars into the public conversation. I'm sure you saw a couple of weeks ago where maybe it was Kaneko himself that put up the little graph of how the talk about racism and white supremacy just completely skyrocketed in like 2012. It's not an accident, and it's not a mystery how we got here. They started focusing on all of these. They really like just put the hate movement in place, and it is a hate movement. People have got to really understand that this is every bit the hate movement that we witnessed in World War II Germany. They believe Trump is an avatar for a hate movement, and they can go after with hatred anything they can connect to Trump. And they love connecting things to Trump. That is what they do. They're going after all of us. All of the DOJ weaponization, the weaponization of government, the propaganda, the censorship, the medical experimentation, the medical segregation. They wanted all of this stuff is to go after us using Trump as the avatar. They tie us to Trump. They tie those beliefs to Trump. And all of a sudden, all of us can be marginalized. That's what it is. It's a hate movement.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the Kankoa Twitter thread, because I've mentioned it a lot here on Daily. But I did a speech on Wednesday night in Pennsylvania. I was down here. It was recorded, but and in that speech, I mentioned that exact thing. And the 2013 with the repealing of the Smith-Mundt Act through the National Defense Authorization Act. For those of you that don't know, the Smith-Mundt Act was passed in 1948, and it was forbidding the federal government from being able to use propaganda to influence its people. And we have this really sick trend. First off, in 1948, they also passed the Marshall Plan, which instituted the CIA's, the Office of it was like inside policy or something like that, insider policy, which bred Operation Mockingbird. So you have in 1948, you have two completely polar opposite, pieces of legislation that come down that just completely clash on each other, the Smith-Mundt Act and Operation Mockingbird. Obviously, Mockingbird was repealed in shut down in 1976. It's still very much alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, or so they say.
Oh yeah, it's just evolved. Now, instead of like Obama said, there was only 3 channels. So easy to control the masses when you only have 3 people that you have to control. Like if you had Dan Rather, Barbara Walters, and a handful of other people, not Dan Rather. Yeah, Dan Rather, Walter Cronkite. Like if you had like a handful of people under your belt, they had 200 people throughout the United States in Operation Mockingbird, at least. But anyways, so what Chris was talking about in 2013, New York Times and Washington Post at the day, well, not the day, but the same year that the Smith-Mundt was repealed, the terms systemic racism, institutional racism, white supremacy, they went up over 1,000% on those 2 outlets. And you could see the polling. It didn't affect conservatives, ironically, because we actually have intelligent thought. But the liberals went from 31% believing that racism was a major problem in the United States. After the Smith-Mundt Act, it jumped up to 61%. and then 65%, and then eventually to 77% after Trump was elected. And I want to just point this out real quick, because in that speech, I also mentioned a research study that was done back in the day by Media Research Center that showed 1 in every 3 minutes of coverage of of news coverage in 2017 was about Donald Trump, and 90% of that was negative.
Yeah.
Now, ironically, after I gave that speech, that just got popped up in an article this morning, which I was reading it, and I was like, oh, look, they're still doing it. And then it's like, that's 2017. I was like, that's really weird that I mentioned that in a speech that I think Bannon was there and Carrie Lake and a bunch of other people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but and I mentioned that, and all of a sudden there's an article out about it. But this is the move that we're seeing, and this is why people. We talked yesterday, Chris, about the mainstream media. Democrats are plummeting in terms of trust in the media. Like they're wildly turning their backs to the mainstream media, and this is very significant in what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
sorry, that would get off my soapbox.
Dude, I mean, it's becoming undeniable, and that's the good thing. You know, we're in an irreversible trend toward the public understanding of truth. Like the fire is already burning out of control. You know, like this is a wildfire that is going to eventually touch the entire forest, and that's the great part of it.
Yeah. Check out this study here. This is from psychologypost.com, scipost.org, excuse me. Antagonistic narcissism and psychopathic tendencies predict left-wing anti-hierarchical, I can't say that word.
Hierarchical.
Anti-hierarchical. It just sounds like too many syllables. Predict left-wing anti-hierarchical aggression. Narcissistic individuals and those with psychopathic tendencies are more likely to strongly endorse left-wing anti-hierarchical aggression. According to new research published in Current Psychology, the hostility aimed at challenging anti-hierarchical aggression refers to a specific type of hostility aimed at challenging or opposing hierarchical power structure or authority figures. Now, I find that interesting because I challenge power structure and authority figures. Does that mean I'm a left-wing narcissist? But you know, I've often said that there are actually a lot of common grounds between the populist movement and what you're seeing in some of these leftist wings, but they're just unhinged with what they want out of it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we can all identify the problem in the same way. It's funny because the anti-populist factions hilariously believe that our assessment of the problem is wrong. And they would have to, otherwise they couldn't be anti-populist, you know?
Right.
Being anti-populist on its face is like an admission of the movement against the people, right? It is the explicit claim that the people cannot possibly figure things out for themselves, right? And so when we're diagnosing the problem, we see a power structure implementing a system that the vast majority of people don't want, and it's being thrust upon them and forced to govern their lives. And the populists on the left can figure that out too. The populists on the left just believe that they need an authority figure all the time to tell them what's going on. And so they end up thinking that this authority figure will actually look out for all the people because they're told that's how a pure, perfect democracy works, right? Yep. So they believe that they will just be handed the power to collectively choose that future and then give that power to that authority structure. You know, that requires free and fair elections and a pure democracy, neither of which we have. So that automatically fails. All they end up doing is handing power over to authority.
Yep. Well, let me get back into, because this is pretty fascinating, this study. The majority of research on authoritarianism has focused on individuals with right-wing political ideologies. You think? This focus has resulted in a gap in understanding authoritarianism among individuals who support left-wing political ideologies, which the authors behind the new work sought to address. Quote, "We were interested in the psychological factors behind authoritarianism," explained study authors Anna Crispens, a postdoctoral associate, and Alex Bertrams, the head of the Education Psychology Lab at the University of Bern. Quote, "There is a wide range of literature and research in the field of right-wing authoritarianism. However, research on authoritarianism observed in individuals who are supportive of left-wing political ideologies are still rare." Goes on to say, authoritarianism can be found on both sides of the political spectrum. Indicators of authoritarianism on the political left are anti-conventionalism, i.e. the absolute endorsement of progressive moral values; top-down censorship, i.e. the preference for the use of governmental and institutional authority to suppress any speech that is considered as offensive or intolerant; and anti-hierarchical aggression, the motivation to use force and aggression to overthrow establishment hierarchies. For example, an individual with a high LWA might declare anyone to be quote unquote old-fashioned who is opposing their own progressive values, strive to suppress free speech to regulate the expression of right-wing beliefs in educational institutions, and even endorse the use of violence to reach their own political agendas. Now, the crazy thing about this, Chris, the study included 391 individuals with an average age of 46. So like, I was thinking this was going to be like a bunch of college yuppies, you know, like maybe 22, 24 average age, 46. That's pretty impressive. So these lefties, you know, they're getting a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. For so long, we've been the ones that have been the, you know, the brunt of all the jokes, so to speak, in the mainstream media. Oh, right-wing conspiracy, this right-wing extremist, MAGA extremist, all that crap. And in reality, it's like, not only are we not necessarily the most extreme of the group, but you guys are more likely to be extreme. You're more likely to encourage the stuff that would, you know, promote censorship and violence and all that. Now they're getting it thrown back in their face. How long? Like, nobody in the mainstream will cover this, because what would happen if they cover it? They'd immediately have, you know, maybe a handful of protesters out front of their building breaking glass every
thus proving the central thesis.
Right. Like, you guys are violent left-wing extremists according to this study. No, we're not.
Yeah, to prove it, we're going to burn down your buildings.
Oh, it's funny how that works, right?
It's also funny, by the way, you know, that article mentioned that plenty of study has been done on right-wing authoritarian movements. Which ones are right-wing?
Yeah.
I would love for them to tell us which ones are right-wing. Fascism is right-wing. Fascism is a movement out of Marxism.
Out of the left.
It is a collectivist ideology. Nazism, nationalist socialism. That is a movement of Marxist ideology and collectivist ideology. Like, all of the hate movements are Marxist collectivist ideologies. There is no right-wing authoritarianism. It literally means that, like, there shouldn't be that centralized organizing structure. It's hard to be authoritarian when you don't believe in the centralization of power.
Yep. I agree with that 1,000%, man.
This doesn't even make sense.
They're getting it thrown back at them, man. Real quick.
Let me say one more thing about that, right? Yeah. This is the old switcheroo that they pull. Yep. This is what they always try to do. They realize that something is a problem, something they do is a problem, and society has rejected it in full. So rather than supporting that thing, they figure out a way over the course of time to blame it on the other side and claim it was always the other side that put that thing in place. Like, as soon as the Civil Rights Act passes, you know, the Democrats are no longer the party of the Confederacy and the Klan and slavery and Jim Crow and urban decay. It wasn't signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, who said this is going to have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. It wasn't filibustered by Democrats. All of a sudden, Democrats are the saviors of racism, and it was Republicans that did all that bad stuff.
Yep.
And they do the same thing with Nazis and authoritarians. They call it all right wing. Give me a break. It's so silly.
There's such a massive shift going on right now, though. Like, in the media right now. Like, I heard the other day, was it CBS is now covering like the Hunter Biden, like, saga that's going on right now, and they actually, are talking about the whistleblowers and the suppression of the IRS whistleblowers, the retaliation against them. They're actually talking about some of this stuff. So there's a major political shift, but I still say that the reason for that is they have to get rid of Joe. They know that they have to get rid of Joe. He will get absolutely pummeled in 2024. But of course, we know that our elections are not, free and fair. So they'll end up winning, but it's going to be even more egregiously obvious than it was in 2020 that Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes in 2024.
Yep.
So real quick, Chris, I want to run through some Rumble.
They're probably going to go to 90 or 100 million for 2024.
Oh, right.
And
yeah,
that would be just the funniest thing ever.
Yep, I agree. Jojo7171 says nobody cared about people being gay until they started shoving it down our throats and targeting our children. Amen. Yeah. Amen. And I still don't care about people.
Yeah, I knew plenty of gay people in Hollywood, and like some of them were my friends. I don't care at all about what people do in the privacy of their homes and who they want to form loving relationships with.
Yep.
But like, you cannot make the rest of society support you. And it's not just about homosexuality or any of these other things. You are not allowed to use the force of culture to force other people to support what you like. It's absolutely nuts. Imagine we had this authoritarian movement to make everybody a Dolphins fan. That would be utterly insane.
I'm okay with that. I'm a Packer fan, but I root for the
Dolphins. Are number 2.
Well, yeah, I root for them because I'm from
Miami. I was trying to get as close. I forgot that it was the Packers, but
yeah, you're good. I'm okay with that. I wonder what do you think would happen, Chris, if you went to I don't know, a major metropolitan city with a big shirt that said "Straight and Proud"?
I don't know, man. I think that I would probably get high fives from a bunch of people. And then if a blue hair was walking down the street,
hey, my wife has blue hair.
Well, your wife is not a blue hair.
Okay.
And I would just be like, is that Antifa? And do they have a gun? Because then you just have to assume a defensive posture.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it would be okay.
And by the way, Jojo7171, I actually have 7171 tattooed on the back of my arm because that's the base that we built in Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
We were really proud of it. It was called 7171. And so I got that tattoo when I got home from my first deployment. Let's see. We had another one up here. I don't have the app that John has, so it takes me a second, guys. Bear with me. We'll get right back into the news here. Blasted Genetics says, I love the Smith-Munt Act conversations. We should probably, I'm going to put something together on that because I did a lot of research on it over the last few weeks as I prepared for that speech. So
have you published in Gateway about that yet?
No, not yet. I probably should.
Yeah. I mean, those Obama comments would be a good lead-in.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna do a fact check on this altogether. I'm gonna do a fact, and I'm pretty much gonna clip that segment and put it up because I think that was a mother literally destroyed 8 mainstream outlets and Target themselves with a cell phone camera in the store in real time.
Yeah,
that's wild. That if that doesn't show you the lies that are being disseminated amongst the people, I don't know what does. I really don't. Tarmy87 says, love when you guys get all fired up and end up swearing, almost as good as when Trump drops an F-bomb at a rally. Nothing is better than Trump dropping an F-bomb at the rally. Nothing will ever. Can you think of another political moment that was better than that? Oh, you know what? You'd be in jail to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That was pretty epic.
Man, I don't know if we're going to see any debates during this cycle, but man, oh man, if we do, those are going to be entertaining.
Well, if Trump debates DeSantis with a 30-point lead, Trump is not very intelligent on that behalf, but I think he can destroy him anyways.
The truth is he's going to destroy him no matter what.
Right.
And a lot of people.
Why would you debate somebody when you're up 30 points? You literally have nothing.
50 or 60 in certain polls now.
Yeah.
To put it on display to the country so that everybody can see it, maybe, Trump had an interesting post the other night that sent all of the DeSantis simps into a frenzy. It is amazing how similar they are to Democrats in 2016. Trump posted about his big red button, in comparison to Ron's, and related it to Kim Jong-un. And people were like, what does he even mean here? This is so stupid. Like, no, it's not. He's saying Ron thinks he has a big thing that's going to get Trump and take Trump down. He's like, yeah, go ahead and try it. Like, I have a bigger red button. If you try to nuke me, I'm going to nuke you so much harder. And mine actually works, whereas yours doesn't. And Trump knows.
I agree.
Go ahead and try it, Ron.
New Kid says there's always a link between authoritarian Marxist movements and the Luciferian occult. Yep. Hitler's Thule Society is a fascinating dig. I'll have to look into that. I don't know that much about it. You know anything about that? Hitler's Thule Society?
Wait, what is it called? The Thule Society?
Thule.
I don't know about that. No.
I have like a supplement. Oh no, that's Huel. I have a supplement drink called Huel. That's pretty good. Not the same thing.
Yeah.
EC was here, says
advertising right now.
Yeah, we can't do that. Since Pride, I do actually add Field of Greens to it if that's any consultation. Since Pride is the chiefest of sins, I would like to suggest Humility Month. That's from EC was here. Well, we're about to just get inundated with rainbows. I mean, Pride starts, it's like Black Friday. You know how Black Friday became like Black Friday sales start at 12 o'clock midnight on Black Friday, and then Thursday at 10 p.m. and then Thursday
right.
while you're eating
dinner. Right. Yeah. Now it's just like before you even have breakfast on Thanksgiving Day.
Right. Like
they're like, let's just do away with that holiday altogether and have people fight for TVs.
While your turkey is cooking, come to Best Buy and get a 70-inch TV for like $5 cheaper than it normally would be, and fight with everybody in the process of doing it.
Right.
Iron Time says, Iron Time sub supporter, respect to my bad arsed American brothers teaching the world how to reject this cultural identity Marxism. Respect, brothers. Iron Man on Twitter. Thank you very much. Go give him a follow. New Kid, Pride Month. Pride Dem Month. Demon. Oh, okay. You put Pride Month in one word and capitalized demon there. Jester3334 had a lot of fun with Chris last night on Twitter, pointing out how many idiots are still stuck on retarded.
A lot.
Stuck on retarded.
A lot. They had a big day yesterday.
Okay, let's go ahead and get back into the news, folks, because we still got quite a bit to cover. We were on this whole I don't know, this whole identify whatever you want thing here. Grown woman who identifies as 15-year-old boy faces wild claims of drugs, sexting with teen runaways. And just to give you an old story, a quick overview of this story, this woman, Amanda Duro, 35-year-old Washington State woman, hanging out with a bunch of 15-year-old kids. The kids called her Taz, which is like a little weird, man. Like when you were 15, like if a 35-year-old adult was like, "Oh yeah, I want to be part of your little group here," and be on phone calls. I know we had like three-way calling. We didn't have texting back then, but you'd be on like a three-way call, and then somebody else with three-way and somebody else with three-way. You have like 9 people on one call, and you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah, that'd just be a little creepy if a 35-year-old just like jumped into that conversation. But in this story, this is terrifying right here, man. Police had previously received 10 different reports regarding this woman's involvement with minors. The first report was made in April of 11th of 2023. And since then, 11 total calls were made, including the final and most recent call that led to her arrest. When they went through her house, they found condoms, used condoms, all sorts of stuff. Neighbors were reporting that she would walk around topless with 13-year-old kids in her apartment. And this is just wild.
That is a predator preying on vulnerable kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so crazy that we don't, that we're encouraged not to see this for exactly what it is, right? And we are told that the excuse is that we are supposed to believe and agree that she really is a 15-year-old because she identifies that way. And it's funny how they're trying to actually like put this stuff into legal practice. They're trying to protect people who want to do this by allowing them to claim that they themselves are actually teenagers. Like they can't get in trouble for doing things with minors because they themselves are minors, except when they're showing the ID at the liquor store to buy the liquor for those minors.
Bingo. You're 15. Give up your rights to buy liquor, lotto tickets, drive. No more driving for you. You're walking everywhere you go or ride your bike or whatever it may be. And then just real quick, I just want to cover this. University program linking Christians, Republicans to Nazis granted a DHS contract or grant under anti-terror initiative. And this is the picture right here. It's like a tier system that they show. So if you listen to Fox News, the Heritage Foundation, the NRA, CBN, or the GOP as a whole, that is tier 1 on your way up to Nazism.
Yeah, exactly. Deep breaths, man.
Nazism, from Fox News to Nazism. You know what Fox News led me to? Realizing the entire establishment was a crock of shit. That's
yeah. And it's so funny because they think all of us like Fox News. They are so hooked into like MSNBC and CNN that they believe we like Fox.
Yeah, I know.
Since Tucker left Fox, there is no Fox anything that I watch any portion of, right? Like I would always watch Tucker's monologue because Tucker's monologue is like the vanguard edge of what the mainstream audience is beginning to understand, right? And that's an important thing to track. So I would always watch Tucker's monologue, and that was it. Now it's zero Fox News.
Yep. I still remember when Tucker finally talked about the Ukraine biolabs, and I was like, whoa, we were talking about that 2 months ago, but hey, great. Welcome to the thing here. When he had Garland Favorito on talking about voter GA and the case that they were going through and Brian Kemp and, writing the report. And I was like,
he had Bob Alinsky on before the election, and people forget that. That's a big deal, and everybody just forgot about it.
Yeah, remember the Dong Shen, the Chinese guy that was saying that our people are back in power in DC and China and America will get back. Like Tucker was very risque for Fox News, for mainstream, and I think that's why people like you and me watched his monologue. I didn't watch anything else on his show. I'd watch his monologue.
Right.
But
yeah. I mean, and now there's nothing on there at all to watch, but still, all of the uniparty left. They still think that we get our opinions from Fox News. It's ridiculous. Like Fox News gets our opinions 6 months or a year later. That's how the flow works. It's not the other way around.
Yep. I want to play a video here now, Chris. We had the Kerry Lake trial last week, and for all those people out there who are getting heckled by left wingers, this is a video my buddy over at Gateway Pundit, Jordan Conradson, put out. It's actually from We the People Arizona, but Jordan, put it into his article. Check this out. This is signature verification, guys. Keep an eye on the screen. I'm going to make this full screen. It took my famous typing effect. I do this on my videos. And yes, the guy is literally losing off right here.
Hey, just a minute. What's going on here? Oh, yes. Oh, here we are. Well, I guess I will have a little glass of water after all. It's quite a tasty drink.
3, 2, 1, fight! Flawless victory.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, comparing signatures, guys, literally clicking through as fast as he possibly freaking could. And the argument they made in the case was, well, some of them have a stamp or whatever that, they've already been approved because they were in person, they showed their ID, and so they get a little stamp on there. You couldn't even identify if there was a stamp on there that quick.
Yeah, and it's funny too because, when you're listening to the facts of the case that they presented, they talked about how 274,000 ballots approximately were signature verified in under 3 seconds and another 70,000 in under 2 seconds. When you watch the video, you understand that the delay in verification that takes 2 or 3 seconds is the loading. It's not the verification. It's not that somebody looks at the signature for 3 seconds checking to see if it's appropriate and moves on. It's the loading that occasionally takes a second or two.
Yep.
He presses that button as soon as it comes up every single time. Every single time. It's like a race to see how fast he can press that button.
I wish
There
you could
is no
hear.
verification there going on.
I wish you could hear, because you know how like when something's loading and you're like, maybe if I click it like 20 more times, it'll load faster. I bet you he was doing that. Like if you could listen, he was just like, click. And that's why he was falling asleep, man, because he's an older guy. And you know, that incessant clicking like that just takes a toll on you, man. You got to take naps.
You got to wonder how people are incentivized to do something so dishonest and destructive, you know, because that is what they're doing.
Yeah. Chris Hansel from We the People AZ has a data thread out that's just completely annihilating Garrett Archer, who was saying that, oh, look, this guy had, some spurges where he would, click through real quickly, but there were also times when he took the appropriate amount. And the guy's like, no, that's when he was getting a snack or dozing off. Like if you actually look at when he was engaged, it was just click.
Yeah.
So pretty fascinating, dude. Like at this point, like, so you have the judge saying that, you had to prove that verification was done, and they said that there was none done, which to me, I mean, if you're going to get into semantical argument like that, like just don't be a judge, man. Like really don't be a judge. You got to have some common sense while you're up there. Okay. If you make the claim that none was done and they show you somebody doing it that quickly, guess what? No verification was done. They're exactly right there.
Yeah.
But why don't they put safeguards into those machines? That software can have a safeguard where it does that automatically. It pulls them up on the same screen, and you can't click through it for 5 seconds or 8 seconds. Like this can be programmed into that. And instead they give you the venue to just click through at the cyclic rate. I don't know if you got an incentive based on how many you were able to verify or what.
I'm sure that they did. Yeah. I mean, I talked about this at length on the podcast on Monday, right? So we get this decision from this judge, and the judge is basically saying that regardless of whether this is a sufficient means of verifying ballot signatures, the law doesn't define what would be sufficient. It doesn't give a baseline. It just says that the verification has to be done. This is proof that it was done. Whatever problems exist with this system are for the legislature to solve, not me in this decision. And, I'm not like getting this judge's back or saying that the system's not corrupted, but he's kind of got a point there. And, it's good to dispense of these legal problems and legal arguments as the case goes up the chain. One way or another, no matter what decision this judge made, this case was going to be appealed, right? So if he had gone back and said that Carrie Lake and her side, Kurt Olson, that the lawyers were correct, and he overturned this election based on that justification, declaring that the ballot signature verification hadn't happened based on this evidence in these videos and the fact that no sufficient ballot verification could have happened, then what happens in appeal when they argue the same case and they say the law doesn't give a baseline for what sufficient verification is? Therefore, you have to reverse the lower court's decision finding for Carrie Lake. I would honestly rather be on this side of it. They have enough other things that they can argue that the courts have done wrong and that went wrong in this election. I think that they're going to be just fine. This particular issue, I don't think is the hill to die on. And I honestly think if they had decided in Carrie Lake's favor, it would be more likely to be overturned in the next round. So,
well, excuse me, a lot of legal people that I followed that are talking about this on social media right now are saying that they think in the appeal, they'll be successful in the appeals. But you're right. It's going to the SCOTUS no matter what. And it really needs to. It really needs to. The only thing I'm worried about is that SCOTUS is going to kick it back down and say, this isn't our issue. Like this.
It could be kicked back and forth for a while. Yeah. I don't think it's anywhere close to over. But, again, the thing is, every time one of these cases goes to trial and people see the video that everyone just saw, that is proof to every normal person that our elections are stolen. And so that is so much bigger and more important than what Judge Peter Thompson in Maricopa County says about Maricopa County's dumb defense against all logic and rationality of every normal person. Like, give me decisions like this all day long, because it's just going to more broadly publicize the flaws and the corruption in this system. And that's the path we're going down. Like, that's where the victory also, really is.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's disappointing. We would all like everything to be fixed today, but it's not going to be fixed today. And the purpose is to get it fixed in whole, in full, and in a lasting way that can't just be overturned in a couple more months.
Yep. Well,
So,
let's get
I
rid of
mean-
universal mail-in ballot. After that, I don't see any way that you can still have it. But we have a rhino legislature in Arizona that just has no desire whatsoever to pass election integrity bills, and instead kicks out anybody, Liz Harris, that does have a desire for election integrity. But real quick, we got to jump into our next sponsor here, the Wellness Company. Folks, are you worried about spike proteins and how they may impact your health? Are you looking for help but don't know what to do? The Wellness Company has an answer in the form of their clean, pure, all-natural spike support formula developed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. The Wellness Company's spike support includes incredible nattokinase, dandelion root, black sativa extract, green tea, and Irish sea moss. Even better, the spike formula by the Wellness Company is vegan, gluten-free, and made right here in the USA, so you know that you can trust and rely on it if you are concerned about the spike proteins. Buying American-made naturalistic ingredients of this quality separately costs over $100. The Wellness Company spike formula is only $65.99. So go to spikedefend.com to order spike support today and use promo code Badlands to get 10% off. Again, that's spikedefend.com, promo code Badlands for peace of mind if you are concerned about the spike protein. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the news here. And this is a huge story, Chris. So have you seen this out of the DC about the January 6th pipe bomber?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So let me read this real quick, folks. Let me make sure I got it right here. Okay, here it is. The committee requested, and this is from, let me just make sure I'm citing it. This is from Biggs, Jordan, and Posey. And they said here in this letter to Christopher Wray, the FBI committee requested the briefing after we received a whistleblower disclosure from a senior FBI official that raised questions and concerns about the quote-unquote unusual nature of the FBI's investigative efforts, and due to the FBI's failure to adequately respond to Representative Bill Posey's September 2nd, 2021 request. Let me jump down here. Okay, here it is. Your failure to comply with our request is particularly concerning given recent media reports regarding the pipe bomb investigation. According to at least one report from a former FBI agent who worked on the investigation, the FBI linked the suspected pipe bomber to a Metro Rail Smart Trip card that the subject used to travel through the Washington Metro system to a stop in Northern Virginia. The FBI used security cam footage from Northern Virginia, the Northern Virginia Metro stop, to identify the license plate of a car that the individual entered. Still, the FBI has not identified the subject. One former FBI assistant observed, quote, "It just doesn't add up. There's just too much to work with to not know who this guy is." So that might be the biggest development in this case. So, I mean, that is the biggest development in this case, that they have an idea, at least, of the Metro card that was used and track that to a car where they were able to get the license plate. And we still don't have a suspect identified in this. It's like the feds don't want to rat their own out.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's funny how that works, man.
Just get closer and closer and closer to the end of the mystery.
And the mystery just keeps going further and further down. Let's see if we can push this out past 2024.
There are always greater mysteries to come.
Wait, call in the Marburg virus. Come on, they're about to figure out that this was a deep state operation, and that if the pipe bombs were just meant to take away all the police officers from the Capitol, so that they didn't have the resources to push back against the people that just kind of willy-nilly walked into the Capitol. Yep.
Yeah. They got the World Health Assembly going on right now, preparing for Disease X. This fall, they're going to have like another simulation, another trial run. And then next spring, they're going to try to pass the thing that gives full control of societies away to the WHO, and off we go with another pandemic.
Yay, globalism, right?
It's just so funny. I mean, they're going to just do it right in everybody's face, and everybody is just going to like point and laugh.
Yep.
I mean, nobody believed Omicron, and that was like November 2021. They launched it the day before Thanksgiving. So silly. All of it's so stupid.
And now we have the XBB variant in China that's supposed to infect 65 million people a week.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny about that is I
go
keep
ahead.
reading, waiting for somebody to say, well, XBB is more deadly or something, or anything along the lines of its potency. And all they talk about is 65 million people are going to get it.
Yeah.
No, 65 million people aren't going to get it. 65 million people already have some form of a coronavirus in their DNA that is going to pop on a PCR test. And they'll be like, oh, look, you got coronavirus. And it's like, dude, that's a common cold from 12 years ago. It's just still in my system.
Yeah. The tests don't work. They can't differentiate between strains from the tests. That's not what they're doing. It's all made up, man. It's all made up. And the disease X thing, like, yeah, well, you know what might happen is we might all get a disease that we haven't discovered yet. Okay.
If you believe that.
You haven't looked through the inventory in all your labs yet to figure out which disease it's going to be. You got an unknown one in there.
Well, let's check out this story, right? Well, this is just a poll right here. We'll get into the story. From Rasmussen, Durham report, 63% of Americans believe Russia's smear was a hit job against President Trump. No shit, Sherlock. Have you been listening to anything that, even Fox News has been saying this? Have you been listening to anything that's been going on? Do you read anything besides the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC? No shit, this was a hit job. Like, really? But anyways, let's get into this. Did you see this testimony here yesterday? This question right here. It's not really testimony. It's basically
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I was looking at the Rumble screen and still on the poll page. There's a couple seconds behind. I was like, wait, what?
Okay, so let's just kind of summarize this. The Durham report came out 2 weeks ago. Okay, it probably came out to these officials even earlier than that. They probably got it, a week before that. Came out 2 weeks ago. All right, this has been a 4-year-long investigation. It's one of the most since the Star report back in what was it, 90 whatever it was with Bill Clinton, the
late 90s,
Yeah, late 90s with the Star report. I don't think anything's been more anticipated than this right here. Maybe the J6, not the J6, the 9/11 Commission report. Maybe that was more anticipated. But listen to what this woman, the deputy director of counterintelligence for the FBI, has to say about the Durham report after 63% of Americans think it was an FBI smear job.
Special Counsel Durham assessed that neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, and the Bureau subsequently discounted or willfully ignored material that did not support the narrative of a collusive relationship between Trump and Russia. As the Deputy Assistant Director for the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, are you familiar with this report?
I have not read that report, sir.
You have not read the Durham report?
I have not yet read the Durham report, no, sir.
I got to stop right there. That's like when Fetterman was questioning that banker guy. I don't even know who it was. And the guy's just like, what?
Oh, yeah, when he didn't know how to answer.
He didn't know how to answer. And that's what Fluke was like.
Do you want to answer this thing I said?
I'm not sure what to think of this as someone who has spent an entire career in counterintelligence. Special Counsel Durham found that the FBI moved too quickly with its investigation of the 2016 campaign and relied on uncorroborated evidence when launching its investigation. Does this concern you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
That there was a very fast pace of the investigation and that uncorroborated evidence was used when launching the investigation. Does that concern you?
So again, sir, I haven't read the Durham report, so I'm not sure, I have no knowledge of.
Does this fall under the counterintelligence umbrella?
The Durham report? I'm sure portions of it do, yes, sir.
Does a suggestion or an accusation of election collusion between a foreign government and the United States or a person or an entity in the United States fall under counterintelligence?
Yes, sir.
So the alleged collusion between Mr. Trump in 2016 and Russia would have fallen under the counterintelligence division of the FBI?
Yes, sir.
And you have not read the Durham report?
I have not read the Durham report.
Is there a reason? Is it not required to
No, I just haven't had time.
Ms. Murphy, do you actively investigate counterintelligence with foreign entities around the world?
Yes, sir.
And this is a sincere question. Does election collusion worry you?
Yeah, obviously election collusion would worry me. Yes, sir.
Does any malign influence to the United States worry you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would highly recommend reading that because we spent 4 years discussing that. There was uncorroborated evidence. The Durham report specifically outlines the outcome of that. It's very disappointing to hear this.
Damn. Damn.
It's like she specifically didn't read it so she could say she didn't read it in the hearing.
Exactly.
And not actually admit to what's contained in it. These people are so embarrassing. I mean, look at the like the snippy little attitude she got.
That I caught, dude. Do you think election, interference or whatever? Yeah. When do you ever answer in Congress with like that? Like, especially as a deputy director. Like, if I came in there, I'm just a citizen, man. I'll say whatever the hell I want to say.
Yeah.
You're like kind of beholden to these people. Like they're responsible for your oversight in a professional capacity. And it's important to me.
Well, yeah, and they also, they're the ones claiming that they're the very serious people all the time, right? They're the adults that came back in the room, and they're just like, yeah, like, duh, of course I'm into foreign collusion, just not this one.
Right, just not the one that implicates us.
Yeah.
We don't want to look and investigate us. And that's why we don't get anywhere with elections, folks, because the people that are charged with investigating it are the same people who benefit from it. Boom. Revelation right there. All right. We're running out of time, so let's kind of burn through these real quick.
All right.
Suspect who fatally shoved man onto Minneapolis light rail released without charges. I want to play you guys this video, and I want you to remember what Daniel Penny, and guys, this video is brutal. Hold on, where is it? This video is brutal, so I'm giving you guys some warning here to take your screen off if you are. Oh, hey, stop! I want to make it full screen. Like this is. Have you seen this video, Chris?
I think so.
Can I make it? There we go, dude. This is insane. This is insane.
Wait, is this the dude with his shirt off?
No.
Okay,
No. So, guys, I want you to remember this guy that did this. What you're about to see has been released without charges. Daniel Penny, who defended a bunch of people, a Marine who defended a bunch of people against a lunatic, homeless man that was threatening to injure people and didn't care if he died, and has been arrested 44 times and was wanted for a felony for punching an old woman in the face. I want you to remember that guy's facing manslaughter charges, and this guy just went free. And this is very disturbing. Dude. Bro, that is like one of the most like I watched that this morning and I was like, I can't not show this, but I really don't want to. Like, I can't imagine doing that to a human being. Like, anybody. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. Push them over and they just watch a train. Like, I got nothing, man.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Let's see. What else do we have before we get out of here? Oh, I have to cover this because we had last night we had Aaron Stevenson, who's a DHS whistleblower. He was in Intel with Department of Homeland Security, and he came on SitRep with us last night. Great episode if you guys want to go check that out. But we talked a lot about child trafficking and stuff, and this article came up this morning. Migrant baby dies in a hotel. This is the third migrant child to die in 2 weeks. They, of course, show the Time Magazine article here, which the left was absolutely outraged about. Children in cages and all that stuff with Donald Trump. Well, now we have over 85,000 migrant children have been lost inside the United States and are reportedly being trafficked for labor since Joe Biden opened the southern border. Migrant children are drowning in the Rio Grande at the border. Now we have an unidentified migrant teen died in Florida shelter last week. An 8-year-old migrant girl died of a heart condition in the Border Patrol custody last week. And on Thursday, a 4-month-old baby died in a New York City hotel for illegal aliens. Don't expect the Democrats to scream and organize protests over this crisis. There's no political benefit, and they caused it. And then I want to just highlight this clip that I tweeted out from this conversation with Aaron Stevenson.
How many kids are unaccounted for, man?
All right, so going off numbers here. So in FY 2022, there was 128,000 kids that came through just that program. So they actually came in, got numbered. This does not account for all the kids that just get like taken across the border. It gets worse. So in there, I've talked to a lot of caseworkers that are also like actually involved in this process. And the one I thought the best was a woman who's been doing this job for about 20 odd years. And I asked her, like, how many of these kids are actually going to get like, traffic loss, whatever. And she's like, a low end, like the bottom number I would go with is 35%. 35% of that 120,000. Yeah. So of that, that's about 44,000. Now we know historically, and off, like recorded data, the labor to sex trafficking ratio is about 4 to 1. So there's about 11,000 kids getting sex trafficked, and then about the rest of that are getting, labor trafficked. Now, the important thing to remember though is also this. So in FY 2012, the number in this program was around 12 to 13,000. Now it's 128,000. That's an increase of 780% or 800%.
That's wild right there, man. Sorry about the volume, guys. I realized it was a little low there. Give you guys a second to adjust. 128,000 children go through this system. 44, what do you say? 44,000 of them are going to be trafficked.
Yeah, he said like 35% or something.
35%, and then 1 out of 4 of the trafficked are sex trafficked. So 11,000 kids, give or take, and that's just the kids that have gone through the system. He goes on to say that there's a lot more that go through and never make it through the system, and those people I would imagine are more likely to be sex trafficked because they're not in the system and they don't have to worry about it. It was a fascinating interview with Aaron Stevenson last night. Highly recommend you guys check that out.
It's so gross. I mean, the situation is it's unbelievable.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up for the day, we're almost done. We got one last sponsor here, and let me jump into this real quick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if all home air purifiers are the same, why did the U.S. Department of Defense select Enviroklenz to protect and purify the air on board our Navy ships? Because Enviroklenz advanced mineral technology goes beyond ordinary HEPA filters to destroy airborne illness-causing cold and flu viruses, including COVID. Enviroklenz is the new science in air purification, and now you can order one for your home. This is how you help stop colds and flu from taking your whole family down. This is how you destroy allergy-inflaming toxins and mold from the air that your family breathes. In fact, this hospital-grade technology is so powerful that it promises far fewer colds and allergies and better sleep. So visit ekpure.com and use promo code JON, J-O-N, for 10% off your order. Enviroklenz Home Air Purification Unit. You'll also receive a free air quality monitor plus fast free shipping. That's $150 savings. Visit ekpure.com. Use promo code JOHN, ekpure.com, promo code JOHN. So the last thing I want to play here, Chris, and we're gonna sign off with this. I'm gonna do a cold outro. Is that what's called a cold?
Yeah. Well, we also have to hit some rants too, I think.
Oh, we do.
There's definitely a couple that come in.
I got to get that app, man. Like John has this badass app that puts all the
compiles them.
Let's see. Oh wow! Holy crap! A ton came in. Oh wait, no. These for some reason it puts them all together. Okay, let's see. Do you guys think do you guys think these are the real Biden, Obama, Fetterman, or have they been swapped out from D's Salty Nuts? I don't know. I mean, that would be something that like I don't know. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to talk about it all, but I don't think that like that happened. The Biden stuff is interesting, but Fetterman and Obama, I don't think so.
It's also like, what difference does it make?
Yeah, exactly. We're still screwed either way with them. Denise Antu, Brian, could you talk to John about live streaming to locals? I can ask him, but I can't even figure out how to mirror locals with Rumble. I have to do a locals live stream. I promised everybody I would. And I got the Panther tickets and I was at the games and I lost my voice and man, just so much work going on. I'm trying to find the next one.
I'm going to.
There we go.
Erase
Diana D11 says, why small government? Because bureaucracy is the vehicle of corruption.
Yep.
Amen. And we got Aaron Stevenson last night to talk about the bureaucracy and how bad it really is. And he 100% agreed with Trump on, getting rid of it and everything and going through and just like mass house cleaning. But he said it's far bigger than you could ever imagine. He's talking about, just his department that he was in was like 50,000 people. I think he said his specific like subsection was like 15,000 and DHS overall was like 50,000. It's wild, man. AJC 3 says, great show, man. Thank you. Have a blessed weekend, everyone. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. We definitely appreciate that. Chris, it was awesome having you as always. Love having
you too, brother. Great to see you.
And we're going to leave you guys with this here from Forgiato Blow 47. Have you seen this video yet?
I haven't, but hey, everybody, have a great weekend and a great Memorial Day.
Yes.
Are you doing Badlands Daily on Monday, or are you guys taking the day off?
No, we'll be here on Monday. There's no rest for the wicked, so we can't rest either, right?
All right.
So yeah, we'll be here on Monday, or at least I will be. So everybody out there, please, enjoy your family, enjoy the long weekend, enjoy the barbecue, but just remember what the holidays for, and pay tribute in some form or fashion to those who gave their all for this country. And just remember, guys, it's not Veterans Day. It's not about, the guys that made it home. It's about those who didn't. So on that note, everybody, I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and God bless.
Yeah. Digital shoppers. There's a cleanup on every aisle. Target is targeting your kids. They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, we gonna win when they target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids, target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids. They targets that wrong, trying to play with the kids. It's the mayor of Magaville, I'm preaching again. You know the LGBTQ done went too far. You know they cutting these kids, they leaving trannies with scars. Why they pushing the gender, promoting sexual genders? I'm only rocking with Bruce, don't rock with no Caitlyn Jenner. You think that gay shit gon' get you paid? Yeah, we gon' see. It's Mar-a-Lago 2020 for we trumpet, baby. They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, we gonna win when they target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids, target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids. Heard the news story, targeting kids. They going after our youth, and yeah, they do it like this. If you ain't mad yet, well, then you better be pissed. Let's protest until they close and they ain't gonna be missed. Why they got pride shirts in the kids' clothing section? Why they trying to mess with the kids and give misconceptions? They manipulating minds and making evil impressions. Got little boys tucking out by time they teens got depression.
We need to clean up on every island side. This door Satan resides. Wash it with the blood of Christ. It's needed here, so don't think twice. Dating with a Satanist, we all know this is the end. God is coming for revenge. Target is targeting.
They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, we gonna win when they target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids, target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target